Welcome back to TrippTalk Tech. We got another super dope show lined up for y'all today. We're going to be talking depression. We're going to be talking anxiety. We're going to be talking some natural, holistic ways to get around some of these debilitating problems and issues that we all face. Some face, I won't say all face. But we're going to be giving you some non-medicinal approaches today to hopefully deal with that, to help you feeling just better mind, body, and soul. With our honored guest, we will be joined by life development specialist, co-inventor of the Wellness Experience Jamaica. Please help me welcome to the show, Paula Hurlock. How you doing today?
Thank you. It's great, and thank you for having me on Trip Talk Tech.
No problem. And as you know, if you don't know, at Trip Talk Tech, we just love to show love to the people that are just, changing the world, really changing, being disruptors, going against the status quo. And I think for you, obviously, number one, what you're doing with the Wellness Experience Jamaica, that movement, that effort to help just with the awakening of people and just the ascension. And if anybody is going through that, I don't want to say completed that. I think that's always a journey, but anybody going through that or just being initiated through that process, um, definitely you're going to need some type of help. I definitely recommend that space. Again, they don't even know how much you're doing for them right now before they even get there. So thank you for that. But then also what you're doing just in the overall communities, and not just in Jamaica. I think the worldwide impact. I mean, that's how I actually connected with you. Just really some of the videos and things that you've done on depression, anxiety, enlightenment that you give on just us being energetic beings and some of the things that we need to take in and things that we need to get out to just function as beings here as we are. So for all of that, and for the communities and building us and enriching us, we say thank you. Again, the communities that don't know they thank you, I'm sure they salute you as well. So salute to you and just, thank you for what you bring to the table.
Thank you, and thank you for having me again and being part of the sharing because what we're all here to do is journey together. And our
Yes.
ultimate goal is to become the best versions of ourselves and realize our full potential as souls. So thank you for your contribution to that.
Appreciate it. So when I reached out to you, Paula, again, like I was saying, I was listening to a lot of the information that you were giving on depression and anxiety, and I thought that information was just so beneficial. And when I walked away, I was just like, man, that's some life saving information that I would love to share with the Trip Talk Tech community. So I appreciate your time. I appreciate you willing to be a part of this and trying to help us out. So let's dive right in. You know, again, when I think of depression, anxiety, mental health, we just had Mental Health Awareness Month, I guess globally, nationally last month. Um, but when you think of those things, depression, anxiety, the first thing is the stigma around it. I don't want to say just for men, but I know for men, it's definitely a stigma. Hey, deal with it. Times are rough. You gotta figure it out. Um, but outside of just that stigma, right? Let's say you get enough courage, you take the first step and you attack that stigma. But then now I got the other fear of I don't want to be dosed up on medicine for the rest of my life. If it is, hey, yes, you do have this and it's identified as a condition, but now, hey, I want you to take all of this medicine for the rest of your life because now I feel like, hey, I got a dependency now on something that if I don't take it, I'm gonna feel this weird way. But then if I do take it, I don't know if I want to be confined to this regimen all my life. So two questions for you in that. First, when we talk these conditions like anxiety or depression, um, is it any way to get to the root cause of it without even, maybe having to deal with the medicine or just the numb out approach? And then second to that, again, are there any daily tasks? Are there any just ways of carrying our lives that maybe, we can combat against maybe those issues or root causes.
Absolutely. And I can speak about this. I consider myself a subject area expert because I've gone through it.
Okay.
And I'm here to tell everyone that it is just a stage or a process that you go through. And it's just because of the times. And yes, there are other ways that are natural to deal with it. So mine happened back in 2010. And I thought my entire world was falling apart. I was depressed. I was sad. I was anxious. I thought the whole world was plotting against me. It really was just a state of just fear. And of course, everybody in my family thought I needed to go and do therapy and that that I was bipolar and I needed to go take medication for it. And I just decided, no, this is not what they think it is because I am clear. I have clarity. I'm just having these feelings. I did something that most people wouldn't do. I left my job and I went home and took a sabbatical from life. No, everybody got annoyed in my family. They're like, you don't just get up and get to take a sabbatical from life. I'm like, yeah, well, if you would prefer me to take a sabbatical from life now, or you'd like to see me walking down the street with my underwear on my head, choose you know?
Hmm.
And I was very systematic and I already had a sense that I might have just been disconnected from source.
Hmm.
And when you get disconnected from source, they say a tree without roots cannot grow. It's the same thing with us. We are connected to divine source, God. And sometimes because society is so busy, we're all caught up in our um careers and making money, bringing in the cheese, our
Hmm.
profile, how we look, relationships, trying to, you know, find the right partner, trying to all of these things, we forget that we are part of something bigger and greater. We are spirit and we need to be connected to source.
Hmm.
So the key thing is to stop everything you're doing and say, how can I reconnect? And we reconnect by simple things, being still, meditating, praying, thanking God, and being grateful. Yeah, those are very
Okay.
basic things that you can do, right? What happens with our day to day is that our heartbeat increases, our breathing is shallow, and we are basically in fight and flight con- constantly.
Hmm.
So our
Survival
hormones
mode.
go out of whack. Yeah, survival. So what we need to do also is to calm down our central nervous system, nourish the vagus nerve. And let me talk about the vagus nerve just a little because the vagus nerve is connected to everything
Okay.
and is possibly the reason why many of us are feeling imbalanced, disconnected, and so on. We talk about our immune system when it comes to health, but we talk about our central nervous system and the vagus nerve when it comes to our mental health, right?
Okay.
We nourish our body with the right food, and it is essential that we do because we are not just biology, we are chemistry. So if
Okay.
we're eating the wrong food, then we are going to become either too acidic or too alkaline. Our hormones, the messages between our nerves and our brain and the rest of our body and the organs and the glands that secrete, those messages become garbled
Mhm.
and our body just starts to go crazy. So let's start with the vagus nerve. The vagus nerve runs from the brainstem, the base of the brain,
Mhm.
and it goes down and it feeds every organ in the body, every hormone in the body.
Mhm.
Now, If the vagus nerve is not functioning properly, then our digestion gets thrown off, our circulation gets thrown off, our elimination gets thrown off. So the key to being balanced and efficient and clear is to make sure our vagus nerve is nourished and soothed because it gets overexcited when we're stressed.
Mm.
So start with meditation,
Mm-hmm.
quieting the mind, vagus nerve automatically gets nourished. If we wake up in the morning and we do deep breathing, we also nourish the vagus nerve. When the vagus nerve has good tone,
Mm-hmm.
everything works well.
So it
We
starts with the
also,
vagus nerves, huh?
the vagus nerve, and nobody talks about the vagus nerve. The vagus nerve being important is more coming from the Eastern philosophy, the Indian and the Chinese traditional medicine,
Okay.
Ayurvedic, and also our African. They might not call it the vagus nerve, but the things that they do nourish the vagus nerve. Yeah. So
Gotcha.
let me continue the list.
All right.
So the meditation nourishes the vagus nerve. Deep breathing nourishes the vagus nerve, right? So taking nice deep breaths in the morning in the fresh air nourishes the vagus nerve.
Okay.
When the vagus nerve is nourished, the heartbeat slows down and the breath becomes deeper and longer and more valuable, right? Another thing that we can do is take a cold shower. When we take a cold shower, it's like an electrical shock. It just jerks the system. Vagus
It
nerve goes,
jokes.
yes, yeah. And the vagus nerve is like, okay, I'm ready. And the
All
vagus
right.
nerve just snaps into function. If you can't have a cold shower and you can just splash cold water on the face, that will be sufficient.
Okay.
Now, I don't know about you, Keith, but here in Jamaica, if you grew up with your grandmother and your grandmother is pissed about anything, she starts to hum.
Yep.
And you know, okay, don't interfere with her. She's humming. She's mad.
Yeah, she coming.
Humming. Something is coming. Yeah. The humming nourishes the vagus nerve and calms you down. If you think about it, when you hum, your mouth is closed. The sound is reverberating on the roof of
hmm
your mouth and reverberating in your lungs and down your voice box.
So what you
And it's
saying
like,
is, so what you saying? My grandmother was really stopping herself from killing me with the hum. All
exactly,
right. All right. All right. Cool.
exactly, exactly. She had it. She had it. So, big piece of advice: if somebody's pissing you off, don't get angry. Just start humming. Just
Got
start
you.
humming.
That's a gem. See,
Singing,
she.
yeah, yeah. Singing also does that. It nourishes and tones and relaxes the vagus nerve. So as we discussed before, in another conversation, we were laughing and we were saying that when you go to church
Yes.
and you sing and you hum and you pray, when we pray, we put our palms together like this. This automatically nourishes and tones the vagus nerve. So in singing and praying,
And dancing.
dancing because we're stamping the feet, we're grounding and releasing all this negative energy from our body into the earth, we are able to become more balanced. So this is why people feel a little bit more euphoric after church, a little bit more euphoric after singing. There's some people who love to sing, and when they sing, they're so happy. It's because it's nourishing the vagus nerve. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
those are just a few tips for everyone when you're feeling a little off kilter. Do any of those things and you are home free. Especially
There
that
you.
cold shower. We're accustomed to having, hot water heaters and hot water all the time. It does us no good. Take that cold shower.
It's
Take
almost that seems to be the running theme here. Everything that is told to us to be good seems to be bad, and the opposite, right?
exact.
Makes you
So
wonder.
modern life
hmm
and society and how it's structured is taking us away from ourselves. Yeah. So
Definitely,
the key
definitely.
is to go back to yourself.
And
Source.
and
Source
that's
is
exactly what this is about. Yeah, right back
that
in.
is it. That is it. The other thing that we must also talk about is food and
I was
how
about
we
to say that's the next question right there. You mentioned it a little bit in what you were saying and how important it is, and I want to touch on that. How does the food we eat play into our mind state and our mood for the day? Because just like you're saying, hey, I can get up and I can kind of turn my mood, but I know here in America, our culture is heavy carbohydrates. I mean, even if it's continental breakfast, you're eating a lot of breads, danishes, sweets, a little bit of fruit if you can get to it, but just sugar laden, maybe some proteins with the eggs. But how does the food affect how we
so
move?
so I'm going to go back a little bit and just talk about, melanated peoples.
Mhm,
We most of us live along the tropics, the between the Tropic of Cancer and the Tropic of Capricorn, all that belt along the equator. So we've always lived in the tropics, and we normally eat greens and eat fruits,
mhm,
right? So the other races tended to be in the temperate zone where they had to grow wheat and grow stuff and store it over the winter or process it to get it into a form that they could bake it and feed themselves. We
mhm,
didn't. So if we think about that as melanated peoples and we stick with a very basic diet that comes straight out of the ground, then we're home free. So stick with the fruits, stick with the vegetables, stick with water, right?
mhm,
And less of the heavy cooked meals. Those those meals cooked with lots of oils. Those oils have lots of chemicals in them to
mhm,
stabilize them and for their use in the fast food industry. Those are very damaging to us. Those clog us up. Okay?
mhm, mhm,
When we eat foods that are heavy combinations, and heavy combinations is gourmet. Well, gourmet is to our detriment because imagine what a cake is. Our body has enzymes that are designed to digest and break down fruits,
mhm.
vegetables, and perhaps some starches. Yeah.
Yep.
So when we get this thing now, that is a combination of protein, starches, oils, um, and everything into one, and then baked with heat. And then we take a slice of it and we eat it. The body's like, okay, what is this? It tries to break it down. It says, okay, what enzyme do I need for this? And it has no luck, right? So what it does, it stores it. It's like, okay, I don't know what this is. Let me put it here. Let
Mhm,
me put it here. And that's what the body continues to do. And that essentially is the body storing fat. That essentially is the body storing tumors.
cancerous
Huh?
stuff, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we really have to just go back to basics and think about eating less processed foods, more natural foods. Now, in addition to the body storing these things in fat deposits in our body and in garbage receptacles like tumors,
Mhm,
the body goes into a whole tailspin when it has extra sweet, then it becomes extra acidic. When the body's acidic, it starts to do things to come back to equilibrium. So
mhm,
it starts to draw, you know, calcium out of the bones. It weakens the bones,
mhm,
right? It starts to produce more of this hormone to balance that acid, and then we find a buildup of, for example, cortisol in the body
mhm.
when you're stressed.
Stressed,
And
right?
so, yeah, so you have extra production of stress hormones, and then you can't sleep. And then you feel sluggish and lethargic, and you're like, okay, let me drink some coffee. So it's a vicious cycle that is being set up with our food. When we eat
Gotcha.
too much sweets, or we eat too much salt, or we take too much caffeine, or we take too much, so, the three things: the sugar, the salt, the caffeine, um, and the alcohol. Those are the things that we use to dull our pain or dull the sensations that we feel coming out a result of the disequilibrium that comes about from the poor eating.
Wow.
Yeah.
So your body's always constantly fighting a balance struggle. It says,
E-
"Hey, you took me out of whack, so I got to get back." But if we keep doing this, your body's never really resting.
Exactly. Exactly.
Okay, okay, that's a good one. That's a good one. Now that you touch the foods a little bit, and like you said, it's plentiful. It should be plentiful outdoors wherever we are. And I know it changes depending on your demographic, but in global news, they would like us to harp on, food shortages and there's this shortage around formulas, baby formula shortage. I know in the U.S. that's becoming real big right now, in the news. And can you just talk about little ways? Obviously, I know holistic. I know you're all about holistic, but holistic ways from maybe a baby formula side for mothers to things they can employ from that side. But then also, again, that vegetation that's right outside your house. I know foraging has become huge in the U.S. now. Um, is that something people should really get into and start learning, just in case this thing does change around?
Absolutely. First of all, we shouldn't even be having a conversation about shortage of baby formula because God designed us with
Mhm.
breasts,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
That's
yeah.
supposed to be filled with milk. The whole pregnancy process is designed so that as soon as the child is birthed, the milk comes in. First of all, there's a substance before the milk that is supposed to build the immune system of the child, and then the milk comes in. So we shouldn't even be having a discussion about baby formula shortages because we produce milk. However, when we're
Mhm.
not eating properly, we're going to not produce as much milk or low quality milk, which is why the powers that be said, "Oh, I'll supplement your shortfall with some formula," right?
Mhm. Yep.
But think about it, and I know firsthand when I had my child, I was producing milk fine. Three
Mhm.
months off for maternity leave. The minute I started back working and I started becoming stressed, my milk disappeared.
Dried up, man.
Right. So our lifestyle is ensuring that we don't produce enough milk. So we have to look at the root cause first. Yeah. If we're going to be getting pregnant, or if we get pregnant, we need to change our diets immediately to one that's more fruit, vegetable, water, fruit juice, and herbal tea based. That's what we need to do.
Yeah, we
Stop
got to
with
get
all
it
this
at the
packaged
source.
stuff.
Got you. Got you.
Yes, stop with all the packaged processed stuff and go natural. No, in terms of the baby formula shortage, there are alternatives in nature
Mhm.
that are filled with minerals, filled with vitamins and all the things that your baby needs. And so there is a formula that I saw from a, a great guy, an American guy called Yaki Awaken. And
Okay.
he said, listen, just get some coconut milk,
Mhm.
get a little sea moss gel,
Mhm.
get some pitted dates, that's for the sugar, and
Okay.
a little sea salt and spring water, and combine those and strain it, and your child will have everything they need between the coconut milk,
Boom.
the sea moss, and the pitted dates and the sea salt. All the minerals, all the nutrients, all the vitamins they need. Yeah?
There we go.
So
Look at that, Paula. See, look, you helping families right now.
yeah, tip a little coconut oil in there if you want to, any other natural oil to help to, make sure that there's proper lubrication for the baby. So yeah,
and, and I think you make a great point. Because I hear that a lot too. The shortage, not the shortage, and we should really be worried about it because of parents that can't produce milk. But to your point, why is that a thing? Like that's the problem. If we can get to a point where we figure out why you're not producing milk. Like you said, the lifestyle is the lifestyle changes. It's almost built that you can't do it. So again, you can feed the industry.
When you produce a child, you're meant to mother that child until that child is able to walk and talk. So you're supposed to nurse the child. I nursed for a year. Some people nurse for 2 years. That is how the body is designed to produce milk for a year to 2 years to feed the baby, right? So, and you're supposed to be taking care of the baby. You're supposed to be relaxed. You're supposed to be, tending your nest. You're not supposed to be checking emails, going to meetings, working 9 to 5, interacting with people, creating, programs, implementing programs. That's a lot of stress that we're not supposed to be doing. And so this is what we have to go back to. So it's a lot of decision making that we as individuals have to do. We have to make those choices. Is my career more important than rearing my child? And I think that's where we are right now. But the alternatives are there if we need them. There's Mother Nature has created everything that we need to solve every problem that there could ever be.
Agreed. Agreed. You make mention a lot in a lot of your videos about being energetic beings, and with that it's understood that we're vibrational, right? And if you're vibrational, that means our thoughts, that means what we say, our intent, all of that stuff is really put out there and really has weight. It's not just, hey, I was just thinking, I'm this or I'm not this or I'm that. um, can you talk a little bit about or have your thoughts on how our thoughts and words really can come back and haunt us in disease form or even sickness?
Right. Okay. That's a very big question.
All right.
The first thing to understand is that outside of this body that we have an aura that's about 8 inches from our body,
Mhm.
all around us. Yeah. That's our
Mhm.
aura or energy field. And
Okay.
that's where illness begins. That's where our thought forms reside. We think it's in our head,
Hmm.
it's right there in our energetic field, right?
Okay.
Now, if you think about it, everybody carries that aura. And when we're interacting with different people, our auras mix and blend, eh?
Hmm.
So if you interact with someone who has very negative thought forms, negative vibrations, you're gonna get a little bit of that. So that
Yeah.
is why they always say there's an old adage, show me your friends and I'll show you who you are. Because it is impossible for you to hang around people and not
Mhm.
get a little bit of that. Yeah?
Gotcha.
So we have
Gotcha.
to be very careful and guard our energy so that we, we first of all, take care of it. So you can cultivate that energy field around you.
Okay.
And you cultivate it by some of the things that we spoke about already. You cultivate your energy field by meditation, by
Hmm.
prayer, and
Hmm.
by the food you eat. Because the purer the food that you put into your body, the stronger your body system, the stronger your cells, and the stronger your aura, your vibration,
Got it.
right? So
Hmm.
when we eat close to nature, when we eat natural foods, green foods especially. Why I say green foods? How are green foods formed? Leafy greens are formed from photosynthesis. What is photosynthesis? Photosynthesis is the use of light to convert minerals and vitamins to chlorophyll.
Hmm.
Chlorophyll is the closest thing in nature to hemoglobin. Hemoglobin needs oxygen. Chlorophyll is filled with oxygen and light. So when people say we are light beings, it means yes, we need to go out into the light and get our vitamin D to nourish our body, but we also need to be eating light food, photosynthetic foods, green foods. Green foods light us up. People who eat more green foods and fruit carry a stronger, purer aura, auric field. Yeah,
Mm.
easier
Okay.
for them. It's easier for them to tap into natural energy because they are carrying that energy on the inside as well as on the outside.
Okay.
Okay.
That makes
So we
sense.
need to, yeah, we need to eat properly.
Hmm.
And we need to cultivate our aura. Why? Because when our aura is strong and pure, our body is also strong and pure. Again, it's a
It's all related.
skin and earth. Yeah, it's connected. So the aura nourishes the body nourishes the aura. So here are some things that you can do to nourish your aura.
Okay.
Go outside in nature. Walk with your bare feet on the ground. That nourishes your body and it
Hmm.
nourishes your auric field.
Okay.
Stand with your back to a tree or hang out near a tree often. That nourishes your aura,
Mm.
strengthens your auric field. You have to believe it. So, trees, especially big old trees,
Uh-huh.
have big auras, not just shade. They have auras.
Not just
It's like
shade.
not just shade, they have auras. Think about it. They've just been standing there, sending down powerful roots into the ground. So they're constantly getting nourished with magnetic energy from the earth, and they're constantly getting the light of the sun. So they're electromagnetic as well, but they're unaffected by what goes on. They can't go to work, they don't have stress. They're just being a tree.
A matter of fact, I think we had in another conversation, the tree, they're a big energy sucker, right? The negative energy sucker.
Yeah, they literally can pull negative energy out of you, and I'll explain that. The human body has energy centers all over, and there are some energy centers called the chakra. One is at the root, which is between your legs. One is just about at your navel.
Hmm.
Another one is right in your stomach area, solar plexus. Then this one right in the center of your chest is the heart. Then this is the throat. This is the third eye, and this is the crown. This one is connected to the heavens,
Hmm.
right? Now, the energy centers are like little donuts. They're torus, they're toroidal fields, so they're constantly rotating energy, just like a cord. You
Hmm.
know what they say with the cord. If the energy is if your thumb is pointed this way, the energy is going that way. So
Hmm.
let's put it this way: the chakras are little donuts. The energy goes pulled get pulled in from the front and it leaves through the back. Yeah? So
Hmm.
it's clockwise. So you pull in energy when you walk, you talk, interact with people. You're literally having a conversation with their energy centers apart from the conversation. That is why people will walk into a room and in a few minutes they can sum up, I don't like that person or I love that person.
Yeah.
That's why,
Yeah.
because there's a whole energetic conversation happening. Now the energy comes in through the front, it exits through the back.
Hmm.
So if you pulled in negative energy through your interactions or your situations, it exits from the back, but the energy from the tree is magnetic. It will pull that energy and cleanse your aura and cleanse your energy centers. So it's actually very useful for you to find a nice big old tree once a week and go stand up at the tree for a couple of minutes. The tree will do the
Message.
trick.
There
And
you go.
especially if you go intentionally knowing, hey, I'm going to go stand behind the tree and cleanse my body because I don't want to tell that person how I really feel. And you will find that you feel better overall from just hanging out with that
With the
tree.
trees.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna go
Thanks
find
for
me a
listening
tree
to
today.
me. Yes.
Hey, look, I know too. Going on kind of down this spiritual path, spiritual journey. You come across a lot of different information, and as of late, interesting topic for me, crystals. Right. I don't want to say as of late, but obviously over time it's been crystals and their healing properties. I'm a little
I'm
geek.
getting my crystals. I'm getting my crystals because people think
Uh-huh.
that they're not real, let me tell you something. I can attest to the difference in how you feel with or without. Because guess what?
Yes.
All my life I was without crystals, yeah?
Yep. Yep.
And when I started getting interested in crystals and I started buying them and hanging around them, it's not a big difference like if you take an Advil when you have pain in a few minutes,
It
the
just
pain
stopped.
goes.
Yeah. Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
it's not like that. It's a
Nope.
very subtle shift
Hmm.
in your energy, in your outlook. And let me tell you why. So I'm a geologist. That's what my training was. Yeah.
Ah. Okay. See,
And
I asked the right question. I didn't know
yeah,
that.
yeah. So how are crystals formed? Crystals are formed during the earth changes, earth building process. So while earth was being built, there was a lot of heat, a lot of pressure, water or hydro got introduced into the heat and the pressure. And when you have minerals at
Mhm.
high pressure and high temperature with some water, then they shoot veins through the earth. And those veins, hydrothermal activities, hydro water, thermal hot, those hot water actions push through the earth veins, and then those veins cool. Depending on what minerals are in those veins will determine the color.
At the right.
So if it's high in iron, then you're gonna get things that are red or orange or yellow. If it's at a very low high depth, then it might be green. If there's a lot of oxygen, then it's yellow. If it's no oxygen, then it's green, iron.
Hmm.
If it's blue, then it's another mineral. If it's purple, it's another mineral. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, those processes took millions of years. And so those crystals hold the wisdom, the intelligence of the earth. Yeah. So
Hmm.
without speaking, they know what to do. They are able, because they're holding the energy of Mother Earth, they're able to come into your energy field
Hmm.
and create the equilibrium or the balance that it needs. So you just need to bring a crystal into the mix and hold it and keep it and sit with it or wear it. And it does the requisite adjustment to your auric field. So crystals
Hmm.
are another way of cultivating your auric field, cleansing your auric field,
Hmm.
balancing and nourishing your auric field. You see,
See,
it goes right back. Everything is
it keep
connected. Yeah.
coming back in the circle. Everything I'm asking, it seems like I asked that question already, but I didn't. I swear I
Yeah.
didn't.
But it just shows you how complex a system we are as humans. And
Mhm.
that is why the more we understand our system, is the better we're able to operate our system.
And that's what people don't understand. Even like again, like I was telling you when I first inboxed you, I know it's like, well, what does a technology guy want with me? But again, for me, as that technology geek, is like this is technology. This is your body is almost like a supercomputer. Like this,
Absolutely.
it's like you think about all of these different it's again, you think about a computer, it's codes, it's certain things you can do, you can't do. And if you don't, it'll send you this code. And it's almost like your body will send you a code like
Error
this is not
message,
right.
virus. Yeah.
It's gotta go.
Error
And
message,
again,
virus.
it's the same thing. Virus gets quarantined. It's almost like somebody took a human body and made computers and it's the same
Exactly.
format.
Exactly. And that is, I think, the main, if I were to sum up what the human body is, it's a system that
Mhm.
functions on codes. And that's the same thing with food. The food carries a code, especially natural food. And so when that natural food goes in, the body understands that code and starts to process it and break it down. If you put garbage in, the body's going to be like, what is this? I
And it's
do. I
just like you're saying, garbage in, garbage out, right?
can't.
And to your point, if it's GMO'd or whatever, and that's not to talk about anybody, but
Yeah.
it's like you said, I can have a natural code or you can have this GMO code. Which one you want? And your body's going to decode it accordingly, right?
And so it's the same thing with the sun, especially for melanated people.
Hmm.
The sun has codes in it as well. So if we're not outside in the sun, we're missing out on a lot of information. We cannot be in our houses, in our air conditioned houses, 24 hours of the day. We need to get out into the sun, lie in the sun. It's not uncomfortable if you do it often enough. We have built in sunscreen. We don't need
Can can
sunscreen.
can you say that one more time for the people in the back, because that's a
We have
I get
built
into
in
hacker
melanin is
argument.
built melanin is built in sunscreen. You do not need sunscreen. Sunscreen is for persons without melanin. Okay? Do not be fooled.
Okay,
I
I just
always
wanted to repeat that for the people in the back, because they'll scream you down that melanoma and things like that, but again, you have built-in protection.
listen,
So,
I find it funny. Okay, so I'm dark, you see that, right? I taught
hmm,
swimming for 10 years. I would be in the water
hmm,
all day, all day.
hmm,
And everybody's like, and I was getting darker and darker because I'm in the sun,
hmm,
right? And everybody's like, Paula, you need to put on your sunscreen. I put on sunscreen 2 days. My skin burnt so bad. I was like, and my skin stripped and
yeah,
my nose and I'm like, what is this? It was the sunscreen. There are so I am layering and lathering my body with some chemicals that I can't even pronounce,
right,
right? And your body, your skin is the largest organ. It absorbs whatever you put on your skin is absorbed straight into your autonomic nervous system, straight
wow,
in. So when we put on all these artificial lotions and perfumes and so on, it's doing harm to our system that we cannot know until we have a problem. So I don't use oils, I don't use lotions anymore. I use blends of coconut oil, shea butter, um, cocoa butter, and a couple of other natural ingredients that we melanated people have been using for
age,
thousands of years. A company called this or that that sprung up 100 years ago or 70 years ago cannot possibly know how to take care of the body. Our ancestors knew what
yeah,
to
they
put on
did.
the skin to nourish it, what to put in our hair to nourish it. A
Hmm.
lot of the problems we're having with fibroids among women of color has to
Hmm.
do with how we processed our hair. That chemical that we put into our hair. There is a relationship between the pores in our head, the
Hmm.
brain, and the reproductive system
Hmm.
that
Hmm.
people don't know. And so they're going, oh, there's a substantively higher level of fibroids in women of color than in every other race. Duh. It's
Yeah.
because we're processing our hair. We put
Mm.
chemicals. That's a harsh chemical. You smell the chemical that we put in our hair?
I stay away from that stuff.
It's sodium
I and
hydro.
I know over here they call it creamy crack. So I mean, if that is if that's any indication of what it does to you, then
I
yeah.
was guilty of it. Yeah, I grew my fibroids when I was processing my hair.
Oh
Yeah,
man, yeah.
yeah. So I just want
You
everyone to
learn.
know that it's everything that you're putting into your body,
Hmm.
everything that you're putting onto your body that
Yep.
ultimately results in the state of your health by the time you hit 35, going towards 40, going towards 50. Yeah.
Gosh. Cool. All right, let's switch it up real quick a little bit, as I know your time is valuable. I'll get you out of here. I want to talk a little bit about Wellness Experience Jamaica. I see that actually it's funny we talking about this topic of depression and anxiety. I see you have actually a retreat coming up at the end of September, addressing both of these. You know, if I'm a person coming to this experience, especially, like I said, you have global reach. So if people coming in to Jamaica to this experience, what do we expect? What should we expect about
Right.
this?
Right. Well, the underlying premise for us with the depression and anxiety that's happening right now is that it's not really a clinical diagnosis. It's a spiritual awakening that is taking place, and it's taking place globally. It has
Hmm.
to do with the position we are on this planet,
Hmm.
position that we are in the cosmos.
Hmm.
A lot of the ancient civilizations and indigenous groups know of a time where in Earth's history that the Earth, which is a part of the solar system and is
Hmm.
going around another central sun, is going to be positioned in a particular part of the solar system or in the universe where
Hmm.
it's going to be hit by light rays from stellar rays from a different star system that have never hit the planet before.
Hmm.
This is something that they've always known, and this is where we are now. So our planet is being hit by stellar radiation different than our sun. Remember we spoke about the sun
And the
having cold?
codes. Hmm.
Yeah. Well, that's those stellar radiances also have codes, and those codes have a role to play in triggering awakening. So there is a mass awakening taking place that no man, no plan,
Can't
no
run from it.
they can't stop it. They cannot stop it.
See
It's
you on
it's
the other
happening.
side,
So
huh?
that's what's happening. So a lot of the anxiety and depression that we're seeing is really an awakening. It's spiritual awakening. Our codes, we are getting codes, and the codes are waking us up. And the side effects of that awakening or the ascension process, which is what I like to call it, because we're not just awakening, we're awakening and leveling up. We're actually evolving up to
Yep.
a better version of ourselves. So the side effects of that are sadness, depression, confusion, um, feeling disoriented, feeling disenchanted, feeling unmotivated. And again, some of it is related to our central nervous system reconfiguring and recalibrating to it's basically our
To the new
operating system is
codes, right?
upgraded. Yeah.
Yeah, to
Oh,
the new code. See, that's exactly what I put it to you.
yeah, exactly. So when you come to our retreats, it's with that understanding that we are going to assist you to understand that that is what is happening. And when you understand that that's happening, you take a totally different approach to what is happening to you. There is no need really for any kind of medication or drug because it's a natural process. So, what you need to do is nourish the vagus nerve properly. So, through meditation, through helping people to connect with the divine,
Mhm.
through immersion in nature. Immersion in nature is a healing modality all by itself.
Okay.
So, in that retreat, we're going to be teaching you to connect with the divine through immersion in nature and through other activities, a little movement of the body through yoga, through stretching, through
Okay.
breath work. Yeah. We're going to also use frequency because frequency or music in a special way will help to attune the brain waves, right? If you
Okay.
think about it, our heart has a beat and it's actually a wave if you checked it on a machine. Our
Uh-huh.
brain wave and our heart wave is the same. It is designed to be synchronized with the earth's vibration, but because of society and our movement and our consumption with all of what's going on in society, our heart rate, the waves are different from our brain waves and the earth wave. So what we do in that thing, in that retreat, is we help you to synchronize your earth, your heart with your brain wave and the earth. So you are now tuned in and
Okay.
aligned with the rhythm of the earth. And that's a healing process by
In
itself.
itself. Yep,
That will
yep,
do the
yep.
trick by itself.
There you
But
go.
we give you the food, so we're giving you all Jamaican natural food, and we teach you how to combine your food so that you go back home and you don't fall back into the same patterns of eating the wrong foods. And we explain to you why we're eating in the way that we're eating. And
Hmm.
then we go to those rivers and we go to the ocean. And the waters are healing waters. Our rivers are magnetic. Our oceans, our Caribbean Sea is electric. So it's that subtle. It's a subtle thing, but we take you to both so you experience both.
That's
Remember, the skin
hmm
is the biggest organ. So when you go and relax in the sea, you're nourishing your body with the primordial waters of the sea.
mm,
Yeah.
yeah.
So that's how we are going about it. So there's a little
Okay.
bit of talking, there's healing circles, there's silence, there is a little bit of a training component where we teach you different topics. We cover the topics that are necessary to equip you to navigate the awakening and
Hmm.
then to go back home and be able to navigate effortlessly. So that's
Got
what
it.
we're,
So
yeah.
you're gonna be all trained up when they leave. You're gonna come in one way, you're gonna come back a much better person. So
Exactly.
that
And
is, that is.
Jamaica, let me just make one little point, and this is
Okay.
something that a
Oh.
lot of people need to understand. Jamaica sits on a meridian called the 77th meridian, 77 degrees west.
Hmm.
That meridian also runs, the Pentagon is built on that meridian. That
Ah,
is not a normal, it's an energy line. If
it's,
you want to go and Google Lee lines, Leylines, Lee lines. Those are lines of energy flow. Yeah. Magnetic, electric energy flows. Yeah. Those
yeah,
are
right
real.
on the
Those
main
are not
one.
imaginary. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we are connected to that energy flow, right? Because we're
Yep.
electromagnetic. Yeah. So it means that there's a lot of power here on this island. Yeah.
Oh, don't I know
That
it?
is
Don't I
why,
know it?
yeah, that's why we've created the fastest man. We've created the fastest woman. We have the Bob Marley song of the century. Come on,
Yeah.
guys. It's not an
Yeah.
accident. It has to do with the energy that runs through here. So we know for sure that there's a healing energy that runs through here. So our soil is different. Our food is different. Our music is fire. So when
Ah,
you're
that's
here for
dope. She
five
said
days,
it's fire over there. I hear
come
you. I like that.
fire.
That
Fire, more
music
fire.
fire.
When you come to Jamaica and you experience our food, the energy here, our rivers, our sea, and then our beats, our rhythm. You can't go back the same. You can't
Nah, I
go back
never
the same.
do. I never do. I love it over
That's a
there.
consciousness upgrade right there, just being here. Yeah. But when you come here with the intention to heal, you will heal.
That's what's up. So how does what you're doing? I mean, because that sounds like definitely a great experience, and I definitely urge people, if you can get there, get out there. We'll have the flyer up. But how does what you're doing with wellness, experience Jamaica? How does that fit into your overall purpose? Would you say?
So I'm gonna just give a little story.
All right.
Um, I've always been interested in matters related to energy and to nature and to the metaphysical because I've
Okay.
always felt that the knowledge that is being given to us in mainstream, whether it's mainstream media or even mainstream education, I've
Hmm.
always felt, and even mainstream religion, I've always felt like it was a decoy. Like,
Yeah.
oh, come over here. This is it. This is the information. I knew
Yeah.
that this is not the information. The information is somewhere else, and I'm going to find it.
Yep. Yep.
And
Yep.
I, because I was raised as a Christian, so I was given the Bible, and then I heard there's a whole bunch of books, the books that were removed from the Bible. I was like, what? I want to read those because there's a reason why those were removed.
Somebody took
There's
them off
information
for a
that they're
reason,
hiding.
right?
I was never interested in the Bible. I was always interested in the books that they took from the Bible. Yeah.
Hmm.
So I've
Controversy.
always been that kind of person who
Yep.
wants to find out what the parts that they don't want to tell us. And
Hmm.
so I've always searched around that. Now, remember, I'm in the Caribbean. My origins are an enslaved people.
Hmm.
And so I always wanted to find out, so why were we enslaved and who enslaved us? And in doing that research, I found out about Africa, the motherland, and the great civilizations that we actually came from. We were the kings, we were the queens, we were the fathers and mothers of civilization. We are the fathers and mothers of mathematics, science, medicine, right? And so I wanted to know, why was all this hidden? Now, even though I wanted to know, life happens and you don't get to research these things, and it kind of got left behind. My father died in 2019, November 2019, just before the pandemic. My father was a musician. So, first of all, when you're a musician's child, your
Hmm.
brain waves automatically are tuned a different way. You
Oh,
think different, I'm telling you. Yeah.
all right.
And so my father had written some songs, many songs. And I remember about 2 weeks after he died, I felt myself singing one of his songs. And that song was saying, "Give me my religion, my African religion, spirit of the black man." And I was like, oh, all right. So if you know about African religion, there's a lot to do with the ancestors. And the African spirituality has a lot to do with our connection with the ancestors. And we've lost that connection.
Uh-huh.
We totally don't even know our great grandfather's name or our great great
That's
great
real.
grandfather's name. In African spirituality, you know all of that. It's part of what you know. And then there are people who hold that information. So I immediately started just being drawn to that. And I realized in that moment that my connection with my father, even though he had passed on,
Hmm.
remained through the music that he wrote before he died. When he was 35, he wrote a song. We have the answer right here in Jamaica. And he names off all the herbs. We have strong back, blood with sarsaparilla, macapat, chainy root, guinea pepper, kwaku, comfrey, joint of young bamboo, manjo bitters. All of those herbs are
Hmm.
the herbs that we used before the pharmaceutical industry. In fact, the pharmaceutical industry is built on the knowledge of those herbs. And so when the pandemic struck, which is
Hmm.
right after my father died, and I saw the fear and the disempowered people walking around, I was like, what? I established Wellness Experience Jamaica to
All right.
serve the purpose of reminding us, my people, my Jamaican people here in Jamaica and in the diaspora, and by extensions, all people of color, to remind them of the power that that ancestral wisdom holds. The
Hmm.
power to heal yourself with the herbs, the power to heal yourself with the foods, the power to heal yourself with your divine connection to the ancestors, yeah,
Yeah.
and to be at one with the earth. So I have now found that my purpose is to empower people
Yeah.
around healing themselves,
Hmm.
understanding themselves, and connecting with our own spirituality, the one that was taken away from us. We were now given a substitute. I'm not disrespecting religion,
No, not at all.
but saying we need to go back because the key to unlocking the problems that we have as a people, black people,
Hmm.
is missing link, our ancestral wisdom. That's what's missing.
Yep.
I literally sat during the whole George Floyd thing and I just asked myself every single day, what will it take for
Hmm.
us to regain our sovereign state and know who we are? And the answer kept coming back. We need to come together and unify and
Exactly.
take our fight to the spiritual realm, because that's where we are the strongest.
And
So for
it
disconnect,
says it,
yeah,
and it says it in that Bible, right? Like, this fight is not carnal, right? It's a spiritual battle, and I think if we can get everybody to just understand and accept that, you again, now you can start looking at, like you said, the issue, and it comes back to the unity. I think if you can link it up and, like you said, empower. I'm with you on that one. I think that's the Trip Talk Tech mission, right? The empowerment of the people. You give them the information. You do what you want, but if you know the truth is harder again to run away from the truth.
right, right. And I want to also make that connection, because we keep making connection and connecting the dots.
Hmm.
The state of your mental, the state of your physical will determine how readily you're now able to access the spiritual realm.
That's a good point right there.
The
That's
stronger
deep.
you are physically, when I say strong, I don't mean going into the gym and pumping iron. I'm talking about the strength of your cells,
Hmm.
the cleanliness and vitality of your cells. Because we didn't even touch on that, the whole issue of detoxing the body and how important that is. When your body is clean and detoxed, your mind is also clear, and you're now able to tap into the spiritual realm. The light is able to enter every fiber of your being, at the cellular level, at the organ level, the mental, emotional, spiritual level.
Mm.
You're
Yeah.
able to now tap in. Yeah?
You tapped in and turned on.
Yep, yep. And the
Hey,
melanin is
Paula.
released. Yeah. So there we have it.
So what do you got up next? I know you got the depression and anxiety classes coming up, a retreat coming up. But what else do you got going on for yourself? Wellness
So
experience.
also, we also want to do a series of womb wellness.
Okay.
And of course, that has to do with the trauma that we as women of color had to endure during slavery. We've carried that trauma, and now that trauma is manifesting in society, in all the violence between us as people of color, and
Hmm.
all the violence that is being meted out to us. The separation between the masculine and the feminine in society, and then the woman having to carry all of that, plus whatever her grandmothers and great grandmothers had to carry in terms of the rapes, the torture, the abuse. Yeah.
Hmm.
And so now we're having to connect all of those dots and help people to heal, not just with medication, but with an understanding that the trauma has to be released.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
Yeah. You have
Yeah.
to acknowledge it and release it in the spirit, at the spiritual and emotional level. And then you get the healing in the physical level.
And to your point, that probably goes back to releasing that toxicity
Yeah.
from those
So we start
situations.
with that. So we do some work with helping people to understand, or helping women to understand how to eat to nourish their bodies properly, and
Hmm.
then how to detox the different organs like the liver, which is directly related to the reproductive organs. When we use certain foods and certain herbs and detox the body, then our liver is stronger and our reproductive organs are stronger and are able to function better. So it's all connected again.
All connected. Paula, I appreciate all of this information. I'm gonna let you take a breath because I've been asking and you've been going, going, going. I gotta ask you one more question though. We ask all of our guests at Trip Talk Tech this: favorite pair of tennis shoes of all time. I know you want to
And
manage.
my answer is I prefer my bare feet in
All right,
favor of the tennis shoes.
all right, all right, all right. Hey, that's the first. You the first one ever. So bare feet. We got the bare feet. Are you representing right now, or are you?
First, let me see if I can get you to see my feet. I am on the ground. Can you see my
I
toes?
got
Yeah.
you. All right, we got you. We got you. We got you.
And the only reason why I have on slippers is because when I came out here, I had on my bare feet, and my bare feet went into an ant nest. And so the ants weren't too happy. So I said, you know what? Let me put some shoes on that provide a little barrier
Little
between me and
protection.
the ants.
All right, but you going down the first one ever to take bare feet. You took it to a new level, so we're gonna have to top you after this one.
Yes, yes, yes.
Paula, I want to thank you again. I'm telling you, I know you helped a many gazillion of people who ever turns in and watch this. Again, a lot of the facts at the end, just with the women and the woman health, I think when they review this, just small things that I know will go a long way. I appreciate your time. I appreciate the redo. I know we had some technical issues with this. This just lets y'all know how just pressed we were to get this information to you. We figured it had to happen no matter what. We ran through a little bunch of walls just for you guys. And like I said, I do appreciate your flexibility, Paula. Thanks a lot.
My
I
pleasure.
appreciate it. All right. Well, it was
Thank
a
you.
great one.
For thank you for helping to empower our people. And we are hoping that people will take this talk personally and
Mhm.
start to take the action to learn, because the information is all there. They can do the research on all of what we've talked about for themselves and start today. When you hear this message, start immediately to to course correct all the things that they've not been doing the right way, and empower yourselves. Yeah, that's what we
Hey,
want.
I couldn't have said it no better, Paula. Start today. It's Strip Talk Tech, y'all. Have a good one.